Welcome to a moment in competitive Pokemon history. Earlier today on Pokemon Showdown, I played user MudkipNerd in a seemingly innocent best of 3 in the Scarlet and Violet Overused tier, a tier that I happen to be the tier leader of and a council member of, and he happens to want to join our council. How did we get here? What is the importance of this series, and why am I showing you this? Let's get into all of that and more throughout this video. Earlier this week, user MudkipNerd went on the Smogon forums and said, "Hi, I'm here to become an OU council member, so hand over right now." And I was at work, I was chilling, and I'm like, okay, only if you beat me in a battle. And at first, this was innocent banter. Until it wasn't. Until it became pages and pages and pages worth of discussion. And there are so many posts that I can make a video on the progression of this thread alone. But long story short, we decided to play. And okay, no big deal. And then he posted on Reddit, and it got over 2,000 likes, and it got hundreds of responses, and it spread like a wildfire. And suddenly, we have the first game in Generations 9 history to ever have 1,000 active spectators on Pokemon Showdown. We have what might be the largest stake Generation 9 OU game. But what is at stake? Well, he wanted to join the council, but I wasn't just going to let someone on the council. So Councilwoman Ozma, who posted the ban of Iron Bundle and Palafin, her spot on the council was actually at stake, thanks to TPP's post here. You can have Ozma's spot if you win. And he said, no, I want to win 10 times more. And suddenly, there were very high stakes. Lo and behold, we had a battle. Best of 1 to determine the fate of Ozma's spot on the council and if MudkipNerd would join the council. For those who don't know what the council is, we are the group of people that decide what is going to get suspected or banned. Oftentimes, our decisions are justified by community survey or community outreach on things like the Smogon forums and Pokemon Showdown, where people state their opinions. However, we are the people that have that say to make the ultimate decision and frame things a certain way, and that is largely seen as the driving force behind Smogon's tiering system. And the overused metagame, of course, does subscribe to Smogon's tiering system. And the community MudkipNerd comes from is largely seen as the Reddit community. In fact, a start of Reddit called r-stunfisk, and he also has his own r-pukamuku, or Pukamuku for OU. He's a Pukamuku enthusiast. This part of the community is not always on board with Smogon's initiative, whereas the Smogon Council, of course, is the one who are the ones who put out those initiatives. There's, generally speaking, an ideological clash. They tend to not like bans that are instituted on the more fun and interesting Pokemon to them, whereas we see some bans as being perhaps necessary to mandate a certain level of competitiveness, arguing largely that fun cannot be something that we could subjectively subscribe to, because what's fun to me might not be fun to you, or what's fun to you might not be fun to me, and vice versa. This is an argument that's as old as time, and I'm not going to hash out it in this video. However, I do want to put the fact that if MudkipNerd were to join the council, then that would be a drastic departure from the norm. Currently, the council is decided by nomination, which is vetted, needs lots of approval and justification, but normally people who make the council are some of the best ladder or tournament players, rather than people who maybe exist in these spaces, who definitely aren't worse or inherently lesser than people who play on Smogon, but rather people who come from a different mindset, a different ilk, one that maybe does not agree with the Smogon tier. So this presents you an ideological clash, and a clash of great consequence, but also a fun, unique battle for stakes that we've never quite seen before. And I was really happy to be a part of it. But with so much at stake, I also took it seriously. So let's get into the game without any further ado. At 420. I brought an offensive team. He brought an offensive team as well. My team had a couple surprises. I had a lead Annihilate with Taunt plus Stealth Rock. The idea is you taunt Pokemon to force them to attack. That boosts Raise Fish while you also get Stealth Rock along the way. He goes for a Slow Quiver Dance turn 1 as I taunt. I Stealth Rock. He then switches to Roaring Moon. I don't want to let it set up either, so I had to click Taunt. However, he switches to Goldango. That does thwart the taunt. However, it allows me to get a free Rage Fist because I know I'm Sash. He clicks Trick, perhaps predicting a switch out, and I get a Rage Fist off. From there, I switch to Chi Yu on that turn, knowing I'm locked into Rage Fist, and it's possible he could switch out something like Chen Pao or Klefki. He actually goes to his Roaring Moon. I go to Chi-Yu. I knew I can bluff Will-O-Wisp or Terra Fairy, so I don't mind this mid-ground because it does force me to be proactive, and I know that if I caught the Chen Pao, I caught the Klefki, this would have been a very favorable matchup for me. But he goes to Roaring Moon correctly, so that baits in my Azumarill, knowing I should be able to tank it. From there, he goes for Dragon Dance, and he Terrastalizes into a Bug type, which is crazy. I've never seen Terra Bug before. Very interesting. It does resist fighting. It neutralizes Fairy. It makes it so that it moves like Earthquake from Great Tusk can't do anything. Perhaps this is a set that's meant to kind of take advantage of Great Tusk, which would make some sense as he's got Klefki on his team. And he's got a couple Pokemon that are really weak to Earthquake. Generally speaking, he seems pretty weak to Ground type. So I guess that could very well be why. With this said, though, with the Dragon Dance up, I don't want to let it play any games. I know it could also be Terra Steel. I want to force damage onto it because Terra Steel can't fit Roost. So even then, Player Off doing 30-35% could put it in range for, like, say, Aqua Jet plus Sucker Punch. So I play Rough right there, and it does 59. He then proceeds to Roost up, but I connect on the next one here, which is going to allow me to put it in Aqua Jet range, and I dispatch for it pretty quickly with an Aqua Jet. Now I'm up 6-5, and he goes to Goldengo. Unfortunately, from this range, I can't kill it with Aqua Jet. I don't think he's going to Focus Blast until full health Azumarill, so I just go to my Chi-Yu here. Well, he does 34% with the Make It Rain. I know I'm in a pretty good spot here, so I'm going to go ahead and attack straight into that. I Flamethrower as the Azumarill comes in here now, and I'm just going to go ahead and click Terra Grass here to dispose this Azumarill before it gets any Belly Drum shenanigans up. This does allow for him to bring in Chen Pao. However, I have a King Gambit here. He Swords Dance to predicting the switch, which is a great play. However, he does not have Sacred Sword. The best he can do here is just click Crunch. King Gambit is going to take that out comfortably while living the Crunch, of course. He then goes to Klefki. Now, this is interesting. He goes for Fairy Lock. Fairy Lock, for those of you who don't know, is a move that means you cannot switch in the next turn after you're attacked into. So, for example, if I click Earthquake with my Landorus T on a Klefki in a past generation and kill it, as he clicks Fairy Lock first with Prankster, then I can't switch that Landorus T out. So suddenly, his Weavile the next turn can kill me. This is a strategy that we saw sometimes in niche formats. However, it does involve using Klefki, so it's not great. But it seems like Mudkip's team with Swords Dance on Chen Pao, Belly Drum on Azumarill, Dragon Dance on Roaring Moon, and Quiver Dance on Volcarona is largely focused on getting that free turn with one of these Pokemon and eject button, which is a very interesting and novel strategy, so I applaud him for that. Unfortunately, in this case, he's pretty far behind, so while he does get that free Volcarona and a chance to kill me, I also have the ability to do a lot of damage with my King Gambit if he sets up, and I take advantage of that with the Cleave doing 58%. That does also indicate that he's a bulkier Volcarona. I don't want to play any games with Roost on Flame Body, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my Dragonite here. He actually just goes ahead and keeps attacking the Dragonite. He doesn't have anything to hit me beyond the Flamethrower here, so I'm going to go ahead and Dragon Dance, knowing I don't even die to a crit. And then Extreme Speed should kill the Volcarona, Earthquake should kill the Goldengo and Klefki, and that will give me a clean 6-0 victory. However, since this was not much of a game, perhaps due to the fact that his Roaring Moon was more of a liability when it was probably needed to be tasked with being one of the premier breakers on his team, he offered for a best of 3. Now me, it's the middle of Hanukkah, so I actually had to go and see my family. So I didn't really want to do it, but if you happen to see the replay in the battle chat, you'll see so many people asking best of 3, best of 3. Chat kind of popped off all game. So I ultimately gave in, probably against my better judgment, but I mean, hey, who really exhibits good judgment when playing Pokemon anyway, right? So unfortunately, I only prepared one team. He probably prepared multiple, or maybe he just had this team sitting around. Either way, I ended up using a team that my friend and fellow councilman Flame Victini used, which actually was the origin of that Annihilate set. So I'm using the same Annihilate set, but some different other sets. Either way, let's go ahead and get into the game here. This is game 2. I'm going to go ahead and lead Chi-Yu. The reason being is that while I do have to lead Annihilate set that we mentioned from last game, it's also true that Grimmsnarl has Taunt, and it can Taunt into it. And the best I could do is fail to a KO after he clicks Taunt Reflect. So therefore, I want to lead Chi-Yu, predicting the Grimmsnarl, knowing he can't taunt me. The best I can do is set up Light Screen, and I'm Nasty Plot Chi-Yu on this team, so I can negate that Light Screen right off the bat. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. And then knowing that I've kind of scared him out, I actually click Flamethrower here. I clicked Flamethrower largely because I was predicting the Grimmsnarl to stay in and click Reflect. Unfortunately, he went Garganacl here, which is a great play. That's also a max special defense Garganacl. I go ahead and switch on out of there because of that. He goes for an Iron Defense. That allows me to get my Annihilate and kind of reset in the game from there. And I am able to get a taunt off here, which is also awesome because that forces out the Spathra. He goes Chi-Yu, smart play there as I get rocks up. And he's going to go ahead and Flamethrower, bring me down quite a good bit. But ultimately, 74% is not going to kill me, especially when I've got a Focus Sash. And I can take him out with close combat. He now goes to Spathra again, trying to repossess his sweeping prowess, if you will. I Rage Fist there now and got 100 base power. And now I'm going to Terastallize into a Steel type, allowing me to take that Dazzling Gleam and Dispatch of him with now 150 base power, still stabbed Rage Fist. He goes Cyclizar here. I don't want to let him Rapid Spin or knock me off, so I go Goldango. However, he is going to click Shed Tail, and this throws me off a ton because he's got a Leftover Dragonite. So I'm thinking like, okay, Leftovers with a Spinner. It's probably going to be like Dragon Dance, Roost. Like, I don't know. I didn't really think it would be the standard offensive Dragonite with Leftovers. And then on this turn, I click Shadow Ball to make sure I can break the substitute. He clicks Dragon Dance. And now here, between the confusion about it being Leftovers, thinking it might not have extreme speed, especially because that Chi-Yu took rocks itself, so it probably felt like it was Scarf. I was like, this has got to be weird. He used like a bug type Roaring Moon. He's got like a Leftovers, seemingly bulky Dragonite without boots, and he's got Spin Support. I felt like it wasn't going to be the standard Paranormal Extreme Speed variant. Truth be told, this was probably an oversight. The risk versus reward on this turn was absolutely horrendous. The optimal play for me here was probably to go to Annihilate right off the bat after the first Dragon Dance, just click Taunt and dispose of it, and then from there I would have really I would have limited it. Alternatively speaking, I could have probably done something like go hard Dragonite or even go hard Iron Valiant, but since I Shadow Ball here, he Terra Normals, he gets a free second Dragon Dance, and that's the problematic part, because once you get a +2, Extreme Speed kills Iron Valiant. I mean, you're going to kill me off Scarda. Opposing Dragonite can't do anything. Now the game's over, basically. So had I known this was a possibility, which I obviously did, it was 100% my fault for not accounting for it, I might have been fine, but because of how I played it this way, I got punked. I got beat down really bad. And this was definitely misplay on my end. I definitely wasn't in the best headspace right now because I literally had to leave like 10 minutes before this, but also when you're doing something so fundamental as this, like normal Dragonite is one of the standard Pokemon metagame, you have to account for it, and I tried to take a shortcut and I got burnt for it. So ultimately, no excuses whatsoever. Mudkip made a great play trying to find a win path when he was behind and did so successfully, whereas I did not account for an option I should have, thus making a bad risk, and the reward on it wasn't great, whereas, you know, again, I risked the entire game, and as you'll see here, the Dragonite's going to proceed to go from being down 2 Pokemon to basically winning the game. Earthquake's going to take out my Annihilate, and from here, my best line of action is to pray that for some reason my Iron Valiant takes it if it's not attack invested, but needless to say, it is attack invested, so I'm like, okay, what I can do here is, and here's my thought process, if it's Leftovers, and if it's got so much bulk, but it also has attack, then I'm thinking Roost is the last move at this point. And again, guess, it was complete guesswork. It turned out that he had Fire Punch, but let's say he was Roost. What I could do here is I can go Goldango on the Extreme Speed, because that's all I can do to attack me. And he's got 7 left, so let's say I get it in the first time. And obviously, this is after, yeah. So I go Goldango here in Extreme Speed, thinking, okay, so Extreme Speed is the only move he can damage the Dragonite with, if Earthquake's the only other attack. So if I can stall out 6 Extreme Speeds now, then I could potentially have it so that my Dragonite now sets up all over his Dragonite, and I could win the game with my Dragonite. So the idea here is that if his last move is Roost, then he only has 6 more PP to touch me. So on this turn, since only move that hits Goldango, again, since Extreme Speed doesn't hit me is Earthquake, I can go back to Dragonite and I'm immune to that. Now the issue with this here is that he revealed to be Fire Punch over Roost or anything else. And right off there, I just forfeited because that's good game. Basically what I would have to do there is that right here with Multiscale, he can always click Fire Punch. And I would have to Roost and predict that right. If he clicks Extreme Speed, I die. If he clicks Fire Punch on Goldango and I predict Extreme Speed, I die. So I'd have to lose like 6 or 7 straight turns in here and with Goldango, and ultimately speaking, let's say I get the extreme speed right and I go Goldango, then Fire Punch does 35 to my Dragonite, and then it would bring me below multi-scale eventually, and basically I would have to get 14 or 15 turns in a row right, and at this point I just didn't see that as a viable way out, so I just conceded. He played the sequence much better, and I made a clear mistake there, so that 100% falls on my shoulders. A game I could have won that was very winnable, that I positioned myself, in my opinion, in a relatively fair spot to win. Not as good as game 1, but nevertheless, it worked out, and then it didn't, so my fault there 100%, thus leading us to game 3. Funnily enough, between game 2 and game 3, because we had over 1,000 people in these battles, we had up to 1,300 people, actually, believe it or not, the server crashed, and I was a little flustered because, truth be told, I had to get going to a Hanukkah party for my family with my grandparents, and my sister was recently home from school, so definitely was a little crazy in mind, and I only prepared one team, built one team, whereas I guess he had this second team going, and it beat the only other team I picked, so I was like, screw it, we're going back to the game 1 team, we're in uncharted territory, I just want to get this over with, I want to use offense so I can get in and out quickly. So lo and behold, I brought the same team as game 1, that I won, he brought the same team as game 2, that he won, and now we have the best of both worlds, fighting it out, duking it out, and a winner takes all game 3 for Ozma's council spot, for Mudkip Nerd's place on the council, and just for the fun of two communities that oftentimes clash and are at odds with each other. In my opinion, above all else, beyond whatever you might say about the council or whoever is on the council, the personnel, the personalities, and so on, the ability to bring so many people from different walks of competitive Pokemon together and enjoying something like this is bigger than any OU cheerleader, any YouTube channel, any community. It's priceless. It's something that I would not trade for the world. So we battle. And we battle for the fun of it. We battle for some stakes, and we battle for entertainment. Right off the bat, once again, I see that he's got Grimmsnarl. I'm going to go with the same line as last game. I'm going to lead Chi-Yu and click Nasty Plot. He's kind of obligated to click Light Screen or switch out. He opts for the Light Screen option, which, fair, it negates my Nasty Plot. No problem. He goes Garganacl. This time around, I Nasty Plot again. Probably a bit wiser than last game. I do 51, which is roughly min damage. Then I do 55, which is closer to max damage. And I take him out, despite leftovers. Nice roll in my favor there. Chi-Yu isn't really needed in this matchup, though, besides that. So I'm going to go ahead and go Annihilate. And based off my suspicions from last game, it turns out I'm correct. He is a very slow, bulky Dragonite with max attack. Given that information, I'm able to click Taunt. 0 speed Dragonite is slower than 306 speed at +1. If you were to invest, say, 40 EVs in speed, he would be quicker, but he had absolutely 0. If he was faster and he clicked Dragon Dance again, I still might have been okay. Reason being is that I would have gotten off a Rage Fist on this turn here. After Dragon Dance Taunt, he couldn't Dragon Dance again, so he'd break my sub. I'd get 100 BP for a Rage Fist off. And then from there, since I hadn't Terastallized yet, I could have gone to King Gambit and Terastallized into a type that resisted Earthquake, which I happen to have. And then from there, I could have gotten a hit off. And then since he wasn't Roost, I would have been able to live a +2 normal type E-Speed or Fire Punch and 2 KO'd it. Of course, there's the chance that he crits me with the +2 normal E-Speed. That would have been tough then. Then I would have had to fodder King Gambit and Revenge Come with my own Dragonite. Or I would have had to try and live +2 normal E-Speed from Dragonite with Azumarill, which is a roll. So it would have made the game hairier for sure. But thankfully, this is what happened. So that's awesome. He goes to Cyclizar now. I just set Rocks up again. And now he Shed Tails. I know very well Close Combat breaks every single possible sub I can find. Because of that, I just click it, and sure enough, it works. He goes a spot for here. I go for Rage Fist, just knowing I want to damage it, keep it in range for something like Azumarill's priority, or keep it in range for Dragonite's priority, so that if he Terra fighting or Fairies, I don't have to rely on King Gambit. I Rage Fist again, and for some reason, in my opinion, his play here would have been to attack me. It would have been a roll for Rage Fist to kill. Actually, no, it wouldn't have been. He would have died anyway. Yeah, so he didn't really have a play, the more I think about it. Yeah, he at this point, I think his best play, actually, was to go Cyclizar to Grimmsnarl, because he could get a reflect off and set up on me, and then the spot throw could beat me basically. But once you go a spot throw, you always lose that 1v1 because he has to break Sash first. Because I did reveal Sash lead last game in game 1, I believe, and I still am Sash. So he thinks here maybe he forgot Sash, that he can do something, but stored power doesn't do anything because Sash, I live at 1 and I take it out. I guess the chat didn't see it coming either. Like a million people said it, but then Ozma correctly said, "You knew this," which is true from game 1. Anyway, Cyclizar goes for the Shadow Tail again. He goes Dragonite. It does break the sub. And he can't even Extreme Speed now either. So I've got 100 base power rage just I want to. But I have for Taunt in case he Dragon Dances. Now, truth be told, this might have been a slight misplay on my behalf because I was quicker than a +1 Dragonite as we saw before. The thing is that, though, if he Dragon Dances as I Rage Fist and it doesn't do a kill because he's so bulky and I'm only 100 base power, then I really have to taunt on the next one. So he could essentially be +1 and kill me while being at about half health. And then I would rely a lot on my... actually, looking back at it, no, because he could still Terra Normal. Yeah, so he could potentially kill Chiyu. Then I would have needed to either dodge a crit with Chiyu against +1 normal speed, if I even tanked that, or I would have had to hit a Play Rough with Azumarill in order to be safe. And I didn't want to take that 90-10 right off the bat, so I figured taunting, and therefore he can't even 2-kill my Azumarill now. So that made this a more safe way. It gave me another turn basically, because I knew multi-skill was already broken. And yeah, he can Extreme Speed normal there, although I get my Citrus, so I always live to like that. And I can Play Rough, and crit does help me here, because now I can kill with Aqua Jet. But I would have 2-killed anyway, barring min roll. So this avoided the chance of missing, and that was really all there was to it. From there, he's going to reflect, and I'm just going to Play Rough, knowing fully well that at this point in the game, there's nothing he can do to threaten me with Grimmsnarl or the Cyclizar. It's just a Chiyu. I am going to miss Play Rough, but Reflect is up, and I'm -1. I'm going to go ahead and get my Azumarill out of there, just fought off the Chiyu, just want to play it safe, make sure I can secure the victory rather than stunting. At this point, he's Flamethrowering. He Flamethrowers again, leading me to he's probably Scarfed on this team. He does get a burn on my Dragonite. Burn coupled with Reflect makes it so the Earthquake only does 30, but that's really fine. All I need is for this to be in range of Aqua Jet or Stealth Rock, and this next Earthquake is going to put him there, and at that point there's no getting out of it. Despite him living my next Extreme Speed and being able to basically trade with my Dragonite thanks to the burn, I am able to escape this relatively unscathed, as I'll take out the Chiyu due to rocks. Grimmsnarl and Chiyu both living at 1. Pretty funny. However, at this point, Goldango with Make It Rain can take out the Grimmsnarl at 1%, and it can do enough damage to that Cyclizar where it cannot get up any sort of Shed Tail, and even if it did, Chiyu is dead to rocks, and my Goldango is a Ghost type, which I purposely went to, so he could not spin them away and let that Chiyu come back. And even if for some reason that were to happen, on top of all of that, I've got double priority in the back with Gambit and Azumarill, leading me to a secure 3-0 victory against Mudkip Nerd in Game 3. However, because I'm such an entertainer, because I love you guys so dearly, when the game ended, in the chat, I said, and I quote, "All best of 3 of this weekend for my council spot." And then he said, "Alright, Finchinator." So now, this is just leg 1 of what could be a multi-leg saga. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed. It's fun bringing you guys some more comical but high-stakes Pokemon matches, especially those with me playing and narrating in post, just so I can point out all the details, especially my mistakes, because I think it's important that we hold ourselves accountable to a high regard as players, and I love self-reflecting on my games. With that said, what did you think? Do you guys enjoy? Do you have any thoughts on these games, the teams, anything else? Let me know down below in the comment section, and I hope above all else you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all the support. And thank you so much to Mudkip Nerd for being a gracious opponent, our Stunfisk for really making this series kind of trend and pop, and all of the friends I've made playing this game over the last couple of weeks in this generation. It's been such an awesome generation from a social standpoint, and I'm really happy to have the place in the community I have right now. I'm just very thankful and gracious for everything going around, and I hope you guys are enjoying, and feel free to let me know down below how I can help you guys enjoy the metagame more. Thank you so much. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and have a great day. And if I don't talk to you guys before, happy holidays to you and your families. Okay, bye.